Good evening, everyone. This is Thalanic Rom, and I figured I'd do a little intro video while streaming a nice, or well, we're recording a nice little game uh, that goes into the whole space trading vibe that kind of got me started in gaming and gave me my niche as well as my namesake, Thalanic Rom. For those wondering, that's my old handle from when I used to play EVE Online back in the day. I'm not going to go into how long ago that was. Maybe some of you people out there remember me. Probably not, because I was never anyone important. But we're gonna start a new game in some Delta V Rings of Saturn, and we're gonna play a few minutes uh, for my intro video here. So let's get started.
You have to question everything.
And for those who've never seen this game before, it's a
Why
little
do
mining
people
game.
go missing in the rings? The company blames pirates. But why would anyone resort to piracy? There is no money to be made there. No glory. Only
Let y'all
fear.
watch the intro video here.
Ultimately, death. Why would you choose that life? And why doesn't the company just blow them all up with an orbital strike? Don't tell me they don't know where they're hiding, with that array of telescopes watching everything. The company wants you to be an obedient little drone. Master Ever doesn't care if it shoots ice, rocks, ships, or stations. They know that, and they hope you won't figure it out. They aren't your friend. Question everything.
So, anyways, as you probably picked up from this, you're an asteroid miner out on the Rings of Saturn, and you launch from this lovely little space station, and it drops you right off into the game here in that first little starter ship that you actually saw in like the intro. Um, and your goal is to mine asteroids, make some money, and not get pirated. So, up in the left here, you can see our little lidar. This kind of gives you an idea of where the asteroids are around you that you can mine. Right now, it wants us to pilot forward. I like the click and drag method, where that little circle you just saw me drag tells the engines to fire forward and will kind of keep me going forward. And we're looking for a rock that we can shoot here. It wants me to go down this way a little bit. And then it wants me to stop for mining inspection. Okay. I was completely ignoring the text there. Don't mind me. You're late for periodic inspection, temporary permission, blah 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 blah. Basically, it's the story content that wants you to rotate, which you can just do by clicking, with right clicking specifically. And then now it wants you to do a drag to 90 degrees. Seems to be working. Now it wants you to accelerate up to 20 meters a second. There we go. Alright, now wants us to slow down into reverse. Okay, hold position. So you press X, that stops your ship. Very useful, very handy. Again, been a little while since I played, so I think it just said we're on our own, basically. Alright, so now... Okay, spacebar is fire. What is... Open up cargo. Okay, gotta remember... So we're gonna go look for something up here. So all these little white dots on this little mini-map up here are kind of like rocks that we can sort of see. I'm trying to... Oh, it's... Oh, haha. I hit the wrong button. I was hitting S. S will make you go backwards. You can also use WSD. Alright. Let's check. Okay, middle mouse button opens up the chamber. There we go. Okay. So it wants us to head towards that. So what we're going to do is going to click on that. And we're going to open up our thing. I like to just kind of tap forward a little bit. Let it drift on in. And you can see on the left down here, you can see where it's captured it. And then we're going to come to a stop here. And it will settle. And it will bounce around in your cargo bay. It is possible to... Okay, so now it wants us to target an ice rock. Okay, where's one of the ice rocks? There we go. Alright. So it wants us to hold velocity. Alright, so now it wants us to shoot said ice rock. And it breaks. There's a chunk of ore. Let's go get it. Okay, want to be... Crap, lost my ore. Let's stop before I smash into that. Alright. Suppose I should be following along on the tutorial here. But as you can see, it also kind of gives us a rough idea of what's in our inventory as we go through, because things are different value, and one of the tactics you can use in this game is to hold on to things that are currently a little lower on value. Alright, so now it wants me to check using my autopilot. Alright. Okay. Celebrate. Your autopilot seems to be working. Good. Yep, disengage. Q, E. Cool. I'm gonna take this time to do a little mining. Alright, so we got... We're gonna chase that one. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Shift. I wanted me to hit the main torch. There we go. Alright. There we go. I wanted us to come to a full stop. We got distracted chasing ore again. You'll find that that's common for me in this game. Alright. Bring up your onboard maintenance system while you're there. Make sure we've... some updates. Okay, so basically, one of the things that can happen in this game is your engines and stuff can get misaligned and stuff, and you'll have to make adjustments and come in here to fix things. Alright, so it's told us we're good for one dive. Alright, so basically now we're on our own. We're gonna move our way up towards this sucker. I'm gonna shoot it. Let's see here. Eventually, you can get to the point where you can like kind of tell what's in each rock, which will help you mine the rocks that are valuable, as opposed to chasing like ice. Ice is not super valuable. Alright, so what I did there, and this is what I just remembered, is you can click on the rock and kind of drag your aiming pointer from the rock, and it will kind of aim the ship in that direction and pilot the ship through autopilot in that direction. Very handy. And now let's see if I can find some of those rocks that I've missed here. Once they get a certain distance away from you, they can be really a pain to find. So, there we go. Work our way over to this one a little bit. We got a decent little haul so far. Looks like we've got a lot of ice, or water, that's the H2O. We've got some, I think it's vanadium for the V. I think the PD's palladium, if I remember, and the BE is rarelite. I can't remember what that one is exactly, but some of those are actually decently valuable. So we're gonna try and catch up to this rock here. Again, if we had more geology skill on the character, or had a geologist on crew, because you can hire crew when you get back to the station, they would be identifying these little chunks we're chasing, kind of telling us what's in them, so we'll know whether or not they're valuable. Oh, there's a rock down here trying to escape. That's a blue one. The blue ones are usually valuable, or they're ice. It's kind of a hit and miss on those. It can be anyways. So let's take a look at this guy. We're gonna stop, because I don't want to smash into it, because you will damage your ship, and it is expensive to fix your ship in this game. Did he not? Okay, that one didn't give us anything. That's impressive. There is technically limited ammunition on the railgun. Oh goodness. That one's gonna... Ooh, that was some tight piloting there. I nearly hit that rock. Funny note, you can break the rocks with your thrusters if you get too close. It's kind of humorous. The other thing you can also look for in the system is the way the rocks look, how they glow in the light. So, we'll get into this later when we do an actual dive from the station into the belt, because you kind of pick how deep into this belt you want to dive. And the more shine that you see in the area you're diving into, generally the more valuable it is. Okay. I basically had a rock get stuck in my ship's grabber there. I'm gonna slow everything down. Picking up a lot of water, not a whole lot of crazy valuable stuff. Let's see here. Let's grab this chunk here, we'll see what that is. I'm surprised I'm not picking up a lot of like iron. Normally at this stage of the game you end up picking up like a lot of iron. There's some rocks over there actually, let's head over here. See if we can't get this one here. But once we kind of get a nice full cargo hold, we'll take it back to the station. Really, nothing on that one. Alright. I just firing random chunks of iron out into space here from my rail cannon. It's kind of the first starting weapon you get. It's actually pretty decent, even into the mid-game. Some people prefer the later weapons like the lasers and the microwave cannons, which all have their advantages and disadvantages. Like, for example, you don't have to carry ammunition. You know, they just run off energy. So, early game, it's kind of just grab what you can. Especially since we're on the very edge of the rings here. So, this little map up here is the rings and how deep you are. Because essentially that's a visual feed from the space station that you're based out of, keeping track of where you are. You know. Can't have you running off with a ship or something. Let's go chase this one. I want to chase that one. I feel good about that one up there. So the other thing we have to kind of keep an eye on is, you know, our Delta V and our fuel, because you need fuel to get back to the station. It's telling me I'm leaving the area. Yeah, I went too far out. It's gonna return me to the station. Or I'm having a problem with my autopilot. One of the two. Not sure. Now you're just gonna watch me spin around this rock. It's one of the hilarious things you can get is because, you know, it uses Newtonian physics to some extent in this game, obviously. So I'm just actually gonna stop myself. Apparently it's still complaining about where I'm located. So let's go down this way. This seemed fine down here, so we'll head back down this way. The other thing you have to keep an eye on is your battery and your reactor. Because let me tell you, you don't want to have to replace a reactor in this game. That gets expensive. I'm trying to move up towards some of these larger clusters of rocks. If I can get myself to stop here, we'll go after this one. Part of the problem is I'm not really using my main engine to stop. That's part of what's slowing me down here. Let's see here, nothing. Really? No rocks off that one. Okay. That must have just been a block of ice or something. What do we got here? Here we go. Here's a chunk of ore. A little bit more about myself. I enjoy colony sims. I enjoy trading games. I mean, there was a time where I used to play some first-person shooters too. I also love survival games. Like, do not be surprised to see some survival games in here, like Imperial Galactic Survival, Dune Awakening. Yes, I've been playing a lot of Dune Awakening. Games like this, where I'm just, you know, person trying to work their way through the world as a merchant. You know, doing whatever. Oh, there he is. Might even play some RimWorld. Love some RimWorld. Again, colony building games. And also be playing things like just some of the little cozy games out there. I'd love to say that I'm a huge fan of Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley is a great game, and you know, I like those cozy games where you're just building yourself up from, you know, wherever you started there. I also plan to stream Vintage Story, because Vintage Story is a great little survival game. Y'all, depending on how much you all know about it, started off as like a Minecraft mod set that some modders were making, and they kind of came to the conclusion that they couldn't do everything they wanted with the mods, and so they ended up building their own game engine to run their mod pack and story content that they wanted. Wow, on that one. Oop, just firing off random shots there. Gotta be careful about that. You can hit other ships in this game. Really? Nothing. Okay. It's weird when the big rocks don't have, like, little ore nodes. I might have just not been close enough to see them, and they might have gone spiraling off into space. It's very possible in this game. One of the upgrades that people who play this game tend to go for pretty early on are drones that basically stop the ore chunks from escaping from you, so you can kind of look at them and decide, oh, is that ore chunk something I want to grab or not? you know. And there's a further upgrade, which I don't know how I feel about. Some people like it, some people don't. It basically has the little drones that come out from your ship, pull the ore to your ship, which can be good if you're having trouble with ore like floating off too much, or just don't have a very maneuverable ship. Um, so, I personally prefer the ones that just stop. It gives you a better chance to decide if that's something you want to go after, instead of it being drawn into your ship and basically thrown into your ship, and you're gonna have to take it back to base either way, you know. Now, there is some advantages to those when you get some of the bigger ships that have refineries built into the cargo hold, because then you can actually start regaining fuel from like the ice rocks and stuff that you're picking up. So that's kind of nice. We've actually got some decent stuff in here, and we're getting a little low on fuel and stuff. So we should be heading back to base, I think. Here, we'll hit one or two more rocks here. We'll just kind of drift towards them a little bit, and then I think we'll call it back, because you don't want that delta V getting too low or too much into the red on you over here on this little column. Alright, let's see what we get out of this last rock, because we're also getting pretty full anyways. Currently, it's estimated that our haul from this load is going to be about 72,000 is what the estimate is based on our character's knowledge. Again, those are numbers that get more accurate as you have, you know, crew with better knowledge on these things and stuff like that. But it's also usually not too inaccurate. It gets really good when you, as I said, you mentioned earlier, those ships that have like refineries in them. Those are really nice because, one, there's a lot of basically XX bulk on these chunks of ore, and it refines it down into more valuable materials. Okay. Ooh. Nearly crashed into a rock there. Okay. Let's bring ourselves to a stop here, and let's work on plotting our jump back. Alright, now I just have to remember what that is. Okay. Wheel, creation, boost, excavator, important maintenance system. There's a little thing of controls up here. What is enter? Okay, now that just brings us into that. Alright. Astrogator. Right. So, you can come into your Astrogator, select the station here, and basically plot a course. Now, my understanding is there's other stations deeper in the belt you can eventually find. I've never made it that far in the game. And now, basically, it's plotting a course to take us back out to the station. And here it's giving you little helpful hints down at the bottom, like, don't overheat your reactor. You don't want it to blow. Completely reasonable. You don't want to blow your reactor. But anyways, let's see what we made from this little run for our first starting run here, as it brings us into the station and identifies everything we brought back, which was, 664 kilograms of the BE material, which I think is beryllium. I'm not sure. We did bring back 7,336 kilograms of iron. Hilarious. We brought back 68,000 kilograms of water. That's either PD's either platinum or palladium. I feel like that's palladium, actually. But 5,000 kilograms of that. Not a little bad payday. And this V stuff, which I cannot remember. I'll have to look it up later. So what happens when you forget what your periodic the table of elements is. Anyways, so overall, if we sell all this, 74,000. So it was pretty close on what it thought it was going to be. And again, you can send it to storage if you think it's not going to be very valuable. But we're just going to sell it all because our character needs the money. One of the things you can do is look at the mineral market, and it will kind of give you an idea of where things are at right now and what they are. So you can tell whether or not it was a good price. So you can see a little low on some of these here, but that's alright. You know, we're just starting out. We didn't know. Didn't let us see that. This is where you can come and do repairs. You know, let you replace things if they're badly broken. Like, eventually they get to the point where you can't fix it. You know, you can stay in the hotel to end the day. You know, save some time. Things like that. You know, buy new equipment. So, for example, you know, get a better mass driver. You know, there's that nano drones I was talking about earlier. Little drones. It kind of gives you an idea of how it is versus your reactor and all that as you slot things in. You get better propellant tanks. So we have the standard. You can get the short range one, which actually gets you some money back, but better hope you don't like having fuel. Several of these upgrades are very nice to have. Like, for example, the cargo bay baffles, kind of annoying, because they shrink your cargo bay size a little bit, but they do have the advantage of, you know how I lost a piece of ore out the front of the ship earlier? They stop that kind of stuff. That's what it's used for. But anyways, I hope you all have enjoyed this first little video with me, where we did a small dive in Delta V Rings of Saturn. I intend to be doing more videos. Again, I'm a gamer. I like trading. I like space. I like cozy farm games. For the heck of it, I'll admit that. And expect to see games like Vintage Story, Imperial and Galactic Survival, Delta V, all kinds of other games. I also like indie games. So, you'll probably see a lot of indie games on here. So, hope to hear from you all again. So, let's see here. So, y'all have a good evening.